first green leaf appeared in the dead of winter, pushing gently through dark soil while the world above lay frozen and silent. And when the town saw it, they laughed harder than ever because everyone knew nothing could grow at minus 20 degrees. Snow buried the roads, lakes were sealed under thick ice, and breath turned to crystals in the air. Yet deep inside a carved cave beneath a hillside, life was quietly proving them all wrong. If you believe in silent heroes and second chances, and in people who keep going when the world mocks their dreams, take a moment now to like this video, comment, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that resilience often grows where no one is looking. Her name was Margaret Maggie Holloway, a middle-aged woman living in a remote mountain town in Montana, United States. She had lived there most of her life, long enough to know how unforgiving winters could be and how quickly people judged what they did not understand. Maggie was not loud or confrontational. She was the kind of person people overlooked, the widow who kept to herself after her husband passed away, the woman who bought old tools instead of new clothes and spent more time studying the land than socializing. After her husband died, Maggie's life narrowed. His income was gone, and the small pension barely covered utilities. The nearest grocery store was miles away, and during winter storms, shelves emptied quickly. One particularly harsh February, Maggie stood in her kitchen staring at canned food, realizing how fragile her survival had become. That was when she remembered something her grandfather once told her about old-world techniques, about storing heat underground and growing food where frost could not reach. The idea sounded ridiculous even to her at first. A garden inside a cave, in winter, in one of the coldest regions of the country. But desperation has a way of opening doors that comfort keeps locked. Maggie owned a small piece of land with a rocky hillside behind her house. It was considered useless, too steep and too solid to farm. Everyone knew that. Everyone except Maggie. She began slowly, using savings meant for emergencies. She dug into the hillside by hand at first, then with borrowed equipment. Neighbors watched her carve a shallow cave and shook their heads. Some joked openly. Others warned her she would waste her money or collapse the hill on herself. Maggie listened politely, but she did not stop. She studied soil composition, thermal mass, and underground insulation late into the night. She lined the walls with stone and reinforced the ceiling carefully. She built vents to control moisture and air, and she placed thick glass panels at the entrance angled toward the winter sun. When she finally planted seeds, it was autumn. Lettuce, spinach, carrots, and herbs were pressed gently into soil that had never felt frost. Outside, leaves fell and snow soon followed. Inside the cave garden, the temperature stayed steady. The earth held warm from summer and released it slowly, just enough to keep the soil alive. Maggie checked the garden every day, adjusting, learning, sometimes failing. Mold threatened her crops. Pests appeared unexpectedly. Some plants withered. There were nights she sat alone on a crate inside the cave, wondering if the town had been right. By January, winter tightened its grip. Temperatures dropped further than usual. Pipes froze across town. People relied on heaters and prayed the power would stay on. Maggie walked past her cave each morning under a sky like steel, hearing laughter echo in her memory. They called it her cave fantasy. They said she was chasing a miracle. Then February arrived. One morning, Maggie stepped inside the cave and froze, not from cold, but from disbelief. Tiny green shoots had broken through the soil, alive, strong, growing. Tears filled her eyes as she touched the leaves with shaking fingers. Against every expectation, her garden was working. As weeks passed, those shoots became full plants. Fresh food grew while the world outside remained locked in ice. The first person to see it was a neighbor who stopped by out of curiosity. Word spread quickly. People came expecting a trick or a joke. Instead, they found rows of vegetables thriving underground. The laughter stopped. Questions replaced mockery. Local farmers asked how it was possible. Maggie explained simply, "The earth protects. Heat does not escape easily underground. Nature works differently when you listen instead of forcing it." The town changed its tone overnight. A local paper ran a small story that turned into a larger one. Maggie's cave garden became a symbol of resilience. Schools brought students to learn. Researchers took notes. But Maggie did not seek attention. She shared food with neighbors who struggled and taught anyone willing to learn how to adapt. More importantly, she regained something she had lost after her husband's death: purpose, confidence, the quiet certainty that she could survive, not just endure. Her garden was no longer just about food. It was about dignity in a world that had tried to shrink her. As spring eventually arrived, Maggie expanded the garden. She helped others build similar systems. The town that once mocked her now thanked her. During the next winter, fewer people went hungry. Fewer shelves went empty. The cave garden that once seemed foolish became a blueprint for survival. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that belief can grow even in frozen places, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can reach the world. Before we end, we have one special request for you. Comment below and tell us this. What dream did people doubt that you are still quietly working on? Because sometimes the strongest growth does not happen under the sun. Sometimes it happens underground in silence, at -20 degrees, waiting patiently to prove the world wrong.